Our movie kicks off with a guy named Ruzegar, sitting in a jail cell thinking back to a fight that broke out at the bar where he used to work. He was looking for someone, trying to get answers from a man who refused to talk. Ruzegar got rough, pushing him hard for info, but eventually the guy convinced him he really didn't know anything. Ruzegar calmed down. He believed him. Then a cop shows up and tells him he's free to go. The person who filed the complaint dropped the charges. As soon as he walks out, his best friend Fateh is waiting outside, hands him the keys to his taxi and says, "Get back to work, man." Right then, Ruzegar spots Hayal and boom, love at first sight. But Hayal gives him this cold, judgmental look and turns away like she couldn't care less. Later, Ruzegar and Fateh go to see this guy named Levin, who runs the bar. Levin's pissed. Ruzegar owes him a lot of money. Like, even if he sold his motorbike, it wouldn't cover the debt. Levin tells him, "Bring me 100 grand, then you can have your bike back. Until then, forget it." Ruzegar grabs his stuff and walks out. Cut to a big mansion where Nama is arguing with her husband, who works as the gardener. She's mad because she thinks he didn't help with the food and left everything to her. Hayal's family shows up. Name and her husband chat with Hayal's little sister, Hilal, asking about her exams. Hilal confidently says she's going to be top of her class and wants to go to art school, but their mom is pushing her towards something more practical. Just then, Hayal's bestie Eche shows up and takes her to their favorite restaurant. While they're there, Ogus, this guy who's clearly into Hayal, shows up too, but Hayal totally brushes him off. Ogus leaves upset and tells his buddy, "One day she'll fall in love with me, I swear." Back to Ruzegar. Fateh tells him he saw this girl and fell for her instantly. He says she's rich and thinks he's classy and wealthy too. Fateh's like, "I'll just stick around long enough for her to fall for me," and boom, wedding bells. Meanwhile, Eche is telling Hayal she met some guy who owns a car dealership and is loaded, but Hayal doesn't really buy it. Then Fateh asks Ruzegar to take one of his taxi passengers because he's got an important meeting. After a bit of arguing, Ruzegar agrees. He picks up a woman who suddenly starts crying in the back seat. He tries to calm her down. Turns out she remembers him from his bar days. When she finds out he quit and is job hunting, she hands her her business card. Then we find out the girl Fateh's crushing on is actually Eche, Hayal's friend. She's super happy to see him again. Ruzegar, meanwhile, starts flashing back to his childhood, his dad beating his mom over hidden money, trying to choke her right in front of him. Fast forward to a rainy day. Hayal gets into Ruzegar's taxi and yells at him, saying he almost hit her. She slams the door and accidentally breaks something. Then she apologizes and says she'll pay for it. Ruzegar snaps back with, "Must be nice. Life's probably real easy when your dad's rich, huh?" Hayal gets mad and tells him to let her out, but Ruzegar kind of softens. He gives her his jacket and lets her back in the car. Around the same time, Eche invites Fateh to a party and tells him to bring a friend. He agrees right away, excited. When Ruzegar and Hayal part ways, Ruzegar teases her, "Looks like you've got a thing for me." Hayal gets pissed and storms off, but accidentally leaves her bracelet behind. At the party, Eche calls Fateh and tells him she and her friend just arrived. But when Ruzegar realizes this wasn't a work event like Fateh said, they get into a fight. Fateh ditches Ruzegar and heads into the party. There, he starts lying to Hayal and her friends, claiming he works at a dealership and is about to get into real estate projects. When Hayal spots Ruzegar, she puts two and two together. Fateh is full of it. An argument breaks out. Then, Hayal's ex-boyfriend shows up and things explode. A huge fight breaks out. In the middle of it all, Hayal slaps Ruzegar. After the party, she follows him outside and somehow they both fall into the water. Later, some guys who don't like Ruzegar invite him to a motorcycle race. They make a bet. If he wins, he gets his bike back and a bunch of money. But right before the race starts, the cops show up. They all agree to race another time. Back at the bar, that same woman from the taxi shows up again and thanks Ruzegar. From the way she looks at him, you can tell she's into him. The next day, Eche goes out with Fateh and Ogus secretly takes photos of them from a cab, clearly planning something shady. Then he goes to see Hayal. That night, Ozan calls Ruzegar and warns him some guys are looking for Fateh. At that moment, two guys attack Fateh, but Ruzegar shows up just in time. He knows martial arts and beats them up. He chases them and runs into Ogus. They fight, Ogus freaks out and runs away. When Hayal hears about everything, she goes with Ruzegar because she's worried about Ece. He asks if Ogus was really her ex, and Ece jokes, "What's wrong, getting jealous?" Ruzegar goes, "Why would I be jealous?" But it's obvious, they both feel something. When Hayal sees he's hurt, she helps bandage his wounds and apologizes. He's clearly touched, but then they argue again. Hayal tries to leave, but Ruzegar stops her. There's tension and attraction between them. Later, he drops her off at home, but her family freaks out. Her dad yells at Ruzegar, threatening him if he ever come near Hayal again. Hayal goes to her room. Her mom tells her she's not allowed to see him anymore. But that night, Hayal calls Ruzegar and says sorry. He says it's fine and invites her to breakfast. The next morning, they meet and they're super happy. Hayal says she's always wanted to learn how to ride a bike, so Ruzegar teaches her. She fakes falling and pretends her legs hurt. Ruzegar picks her up, then realizes she was messing with him. He buys her some pastries, and Hayal says it's the first time she's ever tried something like that. Ruzegar's surprised. "Wait, you never went out much as a kid?" Her smile fades. She gets quiet and sad. They sit together, and Ruzegar starts talking about his past. He says he grew up in Izmir, lost his mom when he was 10, never saw his dad again after that. He tells her the taxi actually belongs to Fateh, he only drives it sometimes. At night, he works at a bar. Hayal opens up too. She's in her last year of law school, but that's her dad's dream, not hers. What she really wants? To become a singer, to be famous. That same night, while Hayal is at home, Ece calls her and tells her there's a big race coming up. She begs Hayal to come. Panicked, Hayal quickly calls Ruzegar, pleading with him not to go through with the race. She's scared something bad will happen to him. She tries so hard to talk him out of it, but he won't back down. So Hayal makes up her mind. She's going. She makes a deal with her little sister Hilal to sneak out of the house without their parents knowing. She arrives at the racetrack just as the race is starting. Ruzegar wins. Right after, a girl walks up to Hayal and tells her to back off, saying Ruzegar is hurt. Hayal's furious. She yells, "If I ever see you racing again, I swear I'll destroy you." But Ruzegar smiles. He's happy she cares. They sit by the water afterward, quiet but connected. When Hayal gets back home, her mom is waiting. Hilal apologizes, and her mom warns Hayal, telling her she's falling for the wrong kind of guy. She says, "Bad boys aren't for love. A decent guy is anyone but these drifters." Hayal stays silent and walks to her room, only to be shocked. Ruzegar is standing outside her window. She panics, scared her dad might see them. Ruzegar looks at her and softly asks, "Do you really love me?" He says, "When I look into your eyes, I get scared because you're the only person who ever made my heart beat." The next morning, Hayal wakes up and finds a letter from Ruzegar. As she reads it, her eyes fill with tears from pure happiness. That night, they meet again. Ruzegar wants to talk about his past, but Hayal doesn't want to hear it. Not yet. Meanwhile, Hayal's dad sees Ruzegar and immediately threatens him. He says if Ruzegar doesn't stay away from his daughter, he'll make sure he ends up in jail. "I know everything about your past," he says, cutting him off before he can even speak. Ruzegar walks off and ends up by the sea. He remembers another dark piece of his childhood. His dad fighting with his mom, holding a gun. His mom was begging for her life, and his dad pulled the trigger. Then he just sat there in shock. Ruzegar is riding his motorcycle when he suddenly crashes. Meanwhile, back at the mansion, Hayal's family decides the only way to get her away from him is to send her to Europe. But when she finds out, she snaps and storms out of the house. She keeps calling Ruzegar, but he's already in an ambulance. Hayal runs to Fateh, but even he doesn't know anything. Panicking, she goes back home. When her mom tries talking to her, she breaks down, saying she spent her whole life living a life they wanted, not what she wanted. While Hayal is crying her heart out, Ruzegar is in surgery. He survives. Fateh visits him at the hospital, but Ruzegar tells him not to say anything to Hayal. He's decided to stay away. He calls Hayal himself and lies, tells her he's gone abroad and will be back eventually. They argue on the phone. He hangs up. Hayal breaks down in tears. A whole month passes. Fateh sees that Ruzegar's miserable. He finally decides enough is enough. He's taking Ruzegar to Hayal no matter what. On the way, they fight. Ruzegar gets out of the car and walks off alone. As he walks, another memory hits him. His father and uncle forcing him as a child to lie to the police, telling him to say he was the one who pulled the trigger that killed his mom. They promised he'd only do a few months in juvie, then get out. They used him. Meanwhile, Hayal is hanging out with her friend when a guy named Mert shows up. He's a classmate from high school, and it's obvious he has a thing for her. He asks her out, but she turns him down flat. Hayal goes to the spot she and Ruzegar used to hang out. Later, she shows up at the bar, clearly tipsy, and picks a fight with Ruzegar. When another girl stands up for Ruzegar, Hayal storms out. Ruzegar follows her, tries to calm her down. She's crying, furious, hurting. Ruzegar finally tells her, "I'm not a good person. I don't deserve you. I caused my Rom's death." But Hayal forgives him. She knows it wasn't his fault. The next day, Hayal finds another letter from him. This time it says their fates aren't meant to be together. Later, Ruzegar's at the bar when a man named Owner shows up asking about his coworker, Livane. He gives Ruzegar a book called Love is Just a Moment and asks him to pass it along. They get into a deep conversation about love. Reading the book changes something in Ruzegar. He decides he's done running. He's going to Hayal. He's not leaving her ever again. But just as he makes up his mind, Hayal collapses. At the hospital, her doctor tells her father the illness has returned. He flashes back to when she was a child in a wheelchair, and her mother had told her she'd walk again, and she did. So maybe this time too. Hayal blames the mom, saying all her pressure made Hayal sick again. The mother, in turn, blames the father for letting Hayal get close to Ruzegar. The doctors say she needs to go to Europe for treatment immediately. But Hayal breaks. She says she can't do this anymore. Then, the awful truth comes out. The cancer is back. She says she's tired of fighting, tired of watching her hair fall out, her body bruising, tired of pretending there's hope when there's none. The doctors try to be hopeful, saying maybe she'll be better in a month or two. But she knows she won't. When she starts to feel just a little better, Hayal asks Ruzegar to take her out. She brings him to the bar where he works and gives him permission to let her sing. She goes on stage and sings her heart out. She's glowing, alive, free. Later, Ruzegar takes her to that one special place he always said he loved, a peaceful, beautiful spot by the water. Hayal tears up, overwhelmed with happiness. She feels safe in his arms. And there, resting on Ruzegar's shoulder, she quietly passes away. No pain, no fear, just love. Ruzegar sits in shock. Tears roll down his face as he holds her tighter and tighter, refusing to believe she's gone. He screams her name, but she's no longer there. Sometime later, Ruzegar stands in front of Hayal's grave. Everyone's gathered for the funeral. Hayal stays behind in Hayal's room. Her dad walks in carrying a big box of art supplies. He tells Hayal he wants to help her chase her dream to get into the Academy of Fine Arts. He apologizes, through tears, for never letting Hayal follow hers. Then Hayal visits Ruzegar and gives him a letter Hayal wrote before she died. In it, she wrote, "I love you because you made me live. You gave me the things I always dreamed of. If my life had to end, I wanted it to end with you. As a child, I was always afraid my life would be short. But when I was with you, I wasn't scared anymore." Ruzegar reads the letter, crying and smiling at the same time. Every beautiful moment they shared flashes through his mind. Just then, the bar owner calls him and says he's done. He wants a new life. He's leaving the bar to Ruzegar. From now on, everything's his. That night, Ruzegar goes to his father's house, gun in hand, ready to kill the man who ruined his life. His dad, the same man who took his mother from him, sits across from him. Ruzegar raises the gun, but suddenly he hears Hayal's voice. Her words echo in his mind. His hand starts to shake. He lowers the gun, turns away, and silently walks out. He walks to the beach, the place where he and Hayal used to meet, where they laughed, where they dreamed. But this time, he's alone.